am David Levine, and this is Cynthia Brando. We are having an unfiltered chat with musicians. This is very casual, laid back. We are both in the world of music. We have been separately obsessed with enjoying music, using music as medicine, I would say, and eventually later in both of our lives separately, sharing in our own capacity. I myself am a classical pianist independently. Cynthia is an independent Los Angeles based singer, songwriter, guitarist. I would classify you as folk with some country elements, a little bit of rock elements. But I would love for you to give like a brief, if somebody just is stumbling into this and has never heard of either one of us, how would you introduce yourself to them?
Well, yeah, a lot of people say I concur with what you said. A lot of people describe my music in ways that maybe I don't immediately say, "Oh, yeah, that's who I am." I mean, I've been trying to discover who I am. It's kind of funny because I've been calling myself acoustic folk rock
Oh
because,
yeah, yeah, I could see
you
that.
know, I don't I don't call myself country because I'm not pure country, but there's definitely elements of country in there.
Yep.
Um, I'm not a pop artist, so I've never really called myself that. I used to call myself Americana because it definitely mixes Americana elements, rock and country and folk and all that. But then I realized I don't really sound like a lot of the Americana artists, like a Gillian
Sure.
Welch. So it's like, okay, I've actually struggled with that recently.
Yeah.
I've called myself a soulful folk rock artist, which
I
is kind of
love
weird
that
because I feel
actually.
like the soulful thing is I feel kind of a little bit strange saying soulful, like, "Oh, I'm calling myself soulful,"
Sure.
but it's really like a
Sounds a little
it
conceited, but I understand what you mean. There's a richness to a sound.
it's my voice, yeah,
Yes, yeah,
mostly why I add that because it kind of explains, the vocal element to what I do, which is kind
sure.
of what people notice about me
Yeah,
right away. I want them to notice my songwriting, but they they notice
of
my
course.
voice.
Well, yeah, and
Yeah,
on that topic, like, as I was preparing to chat with you a little bit, again, this is casual, but there's a little prep involved. I listened to a lot of your work, and one really stuck out to me, "Will You Haunt Me?" And I think what I notice in your voice, and I've noticed this in several of the live performance videos I've seen, is that it's like a fluttering vibrato that is very
right.
deep, deep in a way.
Strong
And
vibrato.
yeah, and how I feel about it is like it is a very conscious choice because I mean, just as a listener, I can tell stylistically, uh, this is where you live in that land of really exploring the note and the vibrato, and it's really enjoyable. Like, it is a stunning song that alone, but your style is there's something special to it. So soulful, I think, is appropriate. I think it is.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, again, I'm exploring still to this day. I've been in LA for 12 years, and, a lot of the music industry does want you to put yourself into a category, and I could see how it's helpful. You wanna know as an
Sure.
audience what you're getting into, what if you like it, but it's been really hard, and the whole vibrato thing, it's kind of funny because I never thought about it until someone pointed it out to me.
Mhm.
Someone had to point it out to me that I had a vibrato. I mean,
Oh.
I knew the word, of course,
Oh,
I was like,
sure.
"Oh, yeah," because someone when I first moved to LA, I didn't know
Yeah.
anyone, and I was trying to play with people and sing in groups. Someone said, "Well, you can be in our group, but we don't want the vibrato. Can you get rid of the vibrato?" And I'm like, "Oh,
It's
vibrato,
intrinsic
right, I
to
do
you.
that." I do
Yeah. Well, there's nothing wrong with, I think in that way you and I walk different paths in terms of genre, and instrument, but I think we musically we walk the same path. And I think the note you point out is actually one I've made a point to really try to be welcoming with classical music. I am a pianist, but I'm not trained academically. And
mm.
so just because we don't have the terminology or the theory knowledge, it doesn't mean you don't have an intrinsic style or something that, i- in my opinion, the fact that you don't know it makes it even more authentic. right? Because you
Yeah,
didn't learn it in a classroom and tried
I
to
did
emulate
not.
it. No.
Did not.
In fact, it sounds very from your soul. So
I
so
I
it
I learned
yeah,
from Sam Cooke and Patsy Cline. Those
yeah.
were my teachers.
The great teachers to have, and
Yeah.
for me, I learned from Andre Watts, Marc-Andre Hamlin. So, same thing, it's like, how do we get the sound we want to make that feels and sounds like the vision we're going for?
Yeah, I mean,
And
yeah.
yeah, go
Speaking
ahead.
of authenticity, when I moved to LA, I for years had been battling with, well, what who am I as an artist? I had a lot to overcome emotionally with trying to sort through that because I always wanted to do music, but
Sure.
I mean, I wasn't very good at it for a long time, and I think part of that was because I didn't know who I was in the sense of
Mhm.
a creative soul through music. It was
Yeah.
just something that spoke to me all my life. So it wasn't like, "Oh, I was born this musician and then I followed that and it was flowing from there." It was like I had to dig deep into it. And when I moved to LA, I had for the first year, I was just all over the place. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what my sound was. And it wasn't until someone that really took me under their wing and saw me. They saw something that I didn't see,
Mhm.
and that's when we were able to sit down and, he kind of fostered my authentic sound that was in there, I just didn't really know what it was, and he drew it out of me.
Mhm, mhm.
And it felt very natural, and, like, when you feel authentic, it's like a light bulb moment, you feel it inside
Absolutely.
in your soul, and it's like, "Oh, yes, like, that now I'm on the right track," where before it just felt totally discombobulated, where I didn't really know what I was doing. Also, a problem with me is I like everything. Like, I'm kinda all over the place with my
Sure.
likes and my interests musically and just in life in general. So, a lot of times I do have a problem honing in on exactly what it is. Um, but like you said, it's an intrinsic thing that, um, that kind of all over the place sense is still a thing that
Yeah.
exists. It's a singular thing. It just comes out in all these different ways musically, but that is my sound.
Yeah. Well, and
Yeah, and, yeah.
how lucky that you had somebody almost, I mean, sure, they were propping you up, it sounds like, and giving you confidence, but really, it to me, it sounds like holding a mirror to yourself and you trusting it.
Trust,
And from
yeah.
that moment on, it sounds like, um when inspired, and tell correct me if I'm wrong, but when the inspiration, emerges, it emerges. You're not seeking a topic to discuss, a style to pursue. Rather, it comes intrinsically because you know who you are at that point. Does that feel accurate or
Yeah.
no?
I mean, I've always kinda known who I am,
Yeah.
and again, it's that sense of, like, I know that I'm all over the place. Like,
Sure,
I
sure.
know when something comes out of my mouth and it's, weird or, I know my weirdnesses. I know who I am in that sense. So I've always been comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Um, and it and I've always been kind of alone dealing with that. And it wasn't until I moved to LA that I met like my soul brothers and sisters and whatnot that helped me, like you said, put a mirror up and they saw something in me and then I was able to connect um and have that community connection which helped me explore
Mhm.
who I was
Yeah.
because it we can't do it all alone, I don't think. I've tried that a lot in my life, and I still
I
go to
think you're
that
right.
place. But,
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of the what I've been experiencing lately after doing this for 12 years, and it is a lot of work, solo work by
Yeah.
myself in a room, and I kind of lost sense of life in a way and all that's the richness that's out there that's outside of doing music,
Mhm.
and realizing that's what enhances my musical, abilities and experience and how I do my music and, what inspires me and getting out into the world and actually living
Mhm.
instead of being in in the dark place that sometimes artists get where they're just so focused on
Sure.
what they're doing.
Yep.
So I've kinda, been exploring sound through that and doing a lot of stuff in nature, which
Mm.
I've always been a nature person because I moved to LA from the woods where I lived in a cabin. Um,
You went from
and
one
LA has a
extreme to
lot
the
of nature.
next.
What's that?
You went from one extreme to the next
I
is
did,
what
yeah,
it sounds
I
like.
did pretty much the complete opposite.
Yeah. Yeah, you did. Well, okay, so on the I think this segues beautifully into the topic of introversion and performance. In getting to know you online, we've sort of been, neck and neck for not in a bad way. That sounds bad. We've known each other adjacently through this music sphere online for a few months now. And one topic I've really resonated that I've seen you write about and talk about is not a natural love of performance and a understanding of that and acceptance of it, and then a working towards getting out of comfort zone and kind of learning to figure out how to perform and how to enjoy it. And I would love to know your philosophy over maybe in the past 12 years how it's been, and then where it's moving forward when we think about Cynthia Brando with a little introversion. What's your philosophy on performance?
Yeah, performing is something that I've always been drawn to, as a type of expression. I started in the theater when I was 16, and I actually did go to a special theater school when I was in high school for the summer. And there's something about I remember this so vividly back then when I was so immature and didn't know what I was doing. I kinda followed that line through my adulthood. I still have a lot of that, like, innocent immaturity to me, but, when I remember when I was a kid and I went to that theater school, and there was something about the empty stage and me just being on it and being in that space. Probably looking back, it's a sense of there's all these possibilities, and you are
Mm,
creating something that's coming from you.
yeah,
It's something unique, it's not something that exists. It's going to be, you're going to pull it out, just in that moment, a performance. It's, even though you prepare maybe, even though all the stuff, it is bursting out of the universe and you, and the stage kind of is the representation of that. And,
I love
I just
that.
remember feeling that so profoundly as a kid and how exciting that was. And then, of course, all of the other stuff comes into it. I've always been kind of a confident person, but also full of insecurities,
Mhm.
and self-conscious. So, that kinda caught up with me. And when you're a kid, you're more innocent, and then, stuff starts to happen to you. And
Sure.
then you take that, you take it personally, and you like, I always was this available person, kind of an open book. And then, people would, like, say stuff to you, and, as a kid, they make fun of you, this and that, and they'd say things to you, and it always deeply affected me. I just felt like I was very sensitive to that. And I didn't understand it, and I started to shut down, and it just got that I started to get that's when I started to develop an actual anxiety disorder, which I
Mm,
suffered all through my 20s and 30s, and it wasn't until I moved to LA that that kind of anxiety where I was having attacks went away. Part of that is I think that I
really?
was finally pursuing music like I always wanted to. So even
Sure.
though there was, like, the worst stress in my life that I ever experienced in LA, I didn't
Yeah.
have anxiety attacks. They completely went away they were so
Really?
debilitating
Yeah.
my whole life. But yeah, I developed really bad stage fright
Yeah.
with music. And again, I don't really know why. I just think I was just internalizing so much, and then a lot of it has to do with how I grew up. I moved around a lot, and change, and not dealing well with change, and um just not feeling secure. So I eventually, and I didn't have like super good music skills. So I didn't really know what I was doing. I just knew that I wanted to do music. So I did
Mhm.
music in that state. And then of course it didn't go very well.
Of course,
And
there's
then,
bombs and
it's
all
just kind
that.
of this negative ball that gets rolling of negativity, and it
Yeah,
compounds. And so I was feeling that greatly by the time I was in my mid-20s, where I just went through a complete shutdown, depression for many years. And
yeah,
I didn't really start playing music out again until I was in my mid-30s, where I lived in Humboldt County in Northern California. I met a friend who played the violin, and I started to play music live, but on a very limited scale.
yep,
And then, I was almost 40 when I realized that I really want to do music. I had gotten a college degree and all this stuff happened.
mhm.
And not in music. My degree is not in music. And after I went, and that was, I almost had a nervous breakdown getting a degree. And after all that, I realized I woke up, I was like, I really want to do music. That's what I want to do.
Yeah,
And I'm having trouble right now. I'm thinking about doing some other things, but I was just thinking the other day, yeah, I might do this other career and explore it, but I still want to do music. Like it's
sure.
never going to go away. So
Yeah,
back to your question about the performing, when I decided that I was gonna move to LA to pursue music, I realized I had to get over my stage fright, because I
mhm.
always loved performing. I just had such nervous anxiety about it that it did become a very,
The side effects.
unjoyful experience.
Yeah.
It was a horrifying experience. I felt like I was in a
I
nightmare.
I think many of us can
So
understand and relate as
yeah, I'm
musicians. Yeah,
sure, and that's what I've discovered when I
yeah,
went to LA and started to meet people, that a lot of people go through this.
yeah,
So basically when I first got here, I had to force myself to get on the stage, and that was the first step. And then what I did was I just started making goals for myself. It's like the first goal was, okay, you wanna do this, you wanna do this, performing is going to be a part of it, there's somewhere in you that loves this, and I knew that.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
just drew on that, and I said, "The first step is to not run off the stage." That was my only goal.
That's a
It's like
beautiful goal. Yes, small
very
goal,
simple.
but major goal too,
Yeah.
because the impulse to cancel,
Run. Yeah.
to run once you're on stage,
The easy way
to
out, right?
and then it's like, once you're on stage, then you start. You're not done until you're done, right?
That is true.
It's
Yeah.
in your
I
head.
mean, I've had some pretty dark thoughts creep in halfway through a performance, but,
Yeah,
again, with the goal of not running off the stage, I
yeah,
didn't allow that. So after I had that goal, I made a new goal of, okay, I've successfully not run off the stage for an entire year. Now let's step it up.
yep,
Let's
goal
get
1
more.
achieved,
Yeah.
next
Yeah.
goal. Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
basically, I just started doing that until now, where I'm exploring like really deep energy levels of performing that happen, and exploring that while I'm on the stage and with the audience, and trying to connect with all of those energies, the audience and the people, the experience, the emptiness, the fullness, just the whole thing while I'm doing the
yeah.
song. So it's become more of like a spiritual practice performing, which I think that was what, again, at 16 years old, what I was feeling, and I couldn't put into words when I was on that empty stage.
Yeah, it's
That
almost like
explosion of
you close the
energy
loop.
in emptiness.
Yeah,
That's what the stage represents to me. Um, and that's actually a goal I'm having right now. I feel so much energy that I'm actually, there's an argument of like, well, just feel that energy, don't tone it down in any way. But I almost feel like I am gonna explode, like I'm just gonna, like, pass out. So I'm trying to actually explore the intricacies of that explosive energy, and to make it into a performance where I'm not feeling like I'm gonna pass out, because it's, like,
yeah,
so exciting and so exhilarating.
yeah.
So that's where I'm at right now with performance. And, yeah, I still get nervous in the weirdest situations.
Yeah,
And I don't get nervous when I think, "Well, why am I not nervous?" So, it's always fluctuating in that sense,
sure.
where I never know how I'm gonna feel exactly, but I do tell myself, "Well, yeah, this is nervousness, but I'm excited too."
Sure. Yeah, it's a
So
kind of a paradigm shift to eh, I wouldn't say retrain your brain, but it is the truth. I used to say this is nervous anticipation. This is excited anticipation. Um, and it would help, if especially when your goal is early on, which I think the whole cycle of that is really beautiful. Like going from loving it to being completely in fear of it, then being completely in love with it again is pretty miraculous. And as somebody who has stage fright actively, um, I wouldn't say it doesn't get easier because it does get easier, right?
yeah,
We know that the more you do it, the more perspective you gain, the more experiences you get. It's almost like you're informing your own nerves and your own body somatically that like, hey, that bomb that I did last time, it actually didn't matter, and only 2 people knew, and they still loved the 40 minutes after, right? So it's like
yeah.
the more experience you get, that alone trains you out as long as you're able to get that first goal of, um, can I one step on stage? And once I'm on there, can I do the thing I really am challenged to do and not step off the stage for any reason, whether I was awful and criticizing myself, getting in my head? Um, I would love to hear. Let's exchange stories of this one. If you want, share an experience of like your worst, most embarrassing bomb on
Oh my
stage.
god.
And like the follow-up question to that, if you're willing to share that story, is like, do you still think about it the same way now as you did then?
Yeah, it's definitely hard to relive those
We don't
moments.
have to go there if you don't want.
It's just kind of funny because, I mean, most of this is very internal, and no, the audience doesn't know what's going on inside of me. I mean,
Yeah,
like, no one's seen my bomb because
right,
it's,
right.
like, totally
They're seeing
internal,
you just
and,
do your thing. Perfectly normal.
um, just not too long ago, I was, yeah, this is kind of like a topic that I can go on about, especially in LA where there's definitely Uh, there's a vibe that I'm seeing with the music and music industry and communities. There is an illusory aspect to it. There are gatekeepers. There are there's an energy level that creates a vibe where
Mm.
that will contribute to nervousness.
The pressure, you
'Cause
mean?
the pressure, yeah, because
Okay,
when you're
yeah.
performing, you never know who, especially in LA, you never know who's
Oh,
out in the audience.
that's so true. Yeah, yeah.
And they can look like anyone, and it's like, then someone tells you, "Oh, that's the head of, whoever, whatever."
And then you do
And
walk off the stage.
and that's but, so there is a little bit of that pressure sometimes, especially if I want to do this as a business, so I am trying to
Sure.
better myself, improve, get myself out there.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I got this house concert, and, those are hard to get. So those are special moments as an indie artist to get a listening room of people that are there to listen to music and,
Yeah, intimate,
um, intimate, clo
closely listening.
people right in your face,
Yep.
in a living room, and I think it was the reason I mentioned this kind of energetic vibe that puts pressure. It's like I think I was feeling that because a lot of people want to do this house concert. It's got some
Mhm.
prestige to it, and
Mhm.
you're feeling all that, and it's like, oh, I'm finally doing this house concert, and then like I was up there right before I do my first song, and I was having such stomach issues. I thought, "I am going to shit my pants right here on the stage," like, before my like, that's what I was feeling, like,
Yeah, yeah.
and I know I'm being graphic, but it's like, that's
No,
how
let's be
nervous
real. This is an
I was.
unfiltered
I was like,
chat.
"I'm gonna have diarrhea," like, like, I don't know what to do, like, I
Yeah.
almost, like, excused myself, like, I swear to
Oh
God,
my god.
I
And this
just
is
had
right
to.
before you're getting on, I'm assuming.
I'm on the stage or I'm on the in the living
Oh
room or
my
so I'm just
Oh,
like,
right,
"Oh
of
my
course, right,
god."
this yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, continue, sorry. I'm
So,
just living it
anyway,
I'm living this as listening to this for the first time, and, like, I understand what you're going through, so it's hard for me to even hear. But go
and,
ahead.
I again, it's my own self getting into my own way. It's like, I don't
Mm,
I didn't have to go there, but, and I was having trouble getting to the concert. I was just like, I just get so nervous that
yeah,
I overthink it so much.
sure.
And in trying to get ready, like, I had my outfit together and, I spilled, cranberry juice or whatever, right before I'm out the door, I gotta change, so I'm creating this, very uncomfortable experience for myself.
Yeah,
And so I again, that's no one knew and I played my first song and, got through it. After I got through the first song, it's like, "Okay, yeah, that
yeah.
went away."
You got in
That
the
feel
flow
that
right
feeling went
away.
away, and I'm
Yeah.
here now, and,
D
it's
and
got easier.
do you feel like
So
anybody noticed?
I seriously doubt it. Like,
Yeah,
sometimes I ask a really good friend who
sure.
would be watching me. I'll say,
Yeah,
"Did you notice anything?" Because I was feeling this way that 99% of the time, they're like, "No, and I can't believe you were
yeah,
feeling that," I can't believe it, and so that's another thing that I've realized about performing is that the audiences doesn't necessarily know what you're going through, and heck, maybe it was super interesting to them.
yeah,
Maybe, I don't
yeah, absolutely. Well,
know.
and I think it helps you let go of you were talking about all this pressure externally that you internalize, and then you're giving yourself the same pressure. And I know we're getting to like the psychology of performance,
Right, right.
but if you can somehow in the middle of it, and by the way, to anybody listening, like fellow musicians or non-musicians, like this is true of any craft, any form of performance, whether you're speaking publicly or whatever. It's like when you get in your head, you know that feeling. And it snowballs into now it's not external. It's actually now internal plus.
Yeah.
And you start thinking, who am I? I mean, I remember being on stage and looking at my hands down. I'm mid-performance, right? And I'm talking to myself in my head, of course, still playing the music. And I'm like, "How am I doing this?" Like, literally, I don't understand how I'm doing this, right? Because so much practice and preparation goes into any of these pre-performance moments that your body and your mind knows what to do on autopilot, which is a skill. But I think, one of the things you talked about earlier, which I love, is, like, you have this excitement and to me, it sounds like a presence so that you're not actually on autopilot. To me, it almost sounds like you're trying to savor being in presence without exploding with excitement. Is that accurate or did I misunderstand?
Yeah, I
Like your
mean,
current philosophy.
being nervous, it means that you care. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
if I didn't give a shit about it, then I just,
Right.
like, walk in all casual. I mean, I'm not saying there's
It's
anything
true.
wrong with that if you get to that to me, that's, like, a pretty high level. I mean, I envy those people that,
Me
can
too.
could do that.
Me
Um,
too.
but I care, deeply about it,
Yeah.
and yeah, I care too much, and that's where I have that bomb I talked about it, that internal bomb going off.
Yeah.
It's because I am caring too much about it, when I should be caring about other things. And again, it's that snowball effect that you're talking about.
Yeah.
So,
And
yeah.
and part of, almost catching yourself and getting yourself out of it, in the moment when you're actually experiencing it to me is almost like reminding yourself that you can trust yourself. You can trust your skills, your creativity, your presence. The fact that you're on the stage And in your case, hired to be on stage, it means that someone wants to see, someone loves your art and your craft and they want to experience it. And so it's almost like sometimes I have to do this for myself, which is say, you know what? I've done hard things. I am qualified to be here and they asked me to be here. And so let's just do the best I can. Right. And like, if there's a mistake, if there's a hiccup, if there's that internal, I wanna run off the stage, it's almost like I remind myself like, "Hey, remember 20 years ago when you were just trying to get on stage?
Yeah.
You have 20 years of experience, right?" In your
Yes.
case, you have 12 years of experience of battling and overcoming this anxiety. It's like, you can trust in that. Sometimes that helps me.
Yeah, no, it's part of my practice now to do exactly what you said. Hopefully not in the middle of a song, but prior to getting
Right.
on the stage is having that pep talk.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
seeing, I look back, part of what I love about getting older, and especially me, because I keep journals of everything.
Mhm.
So I can look back and see evidence. And there's the
Mm.
evidence is your experience,
Yeah.
and you've gotten through it,
Yeah.
each time, and you can always change a situation around. Like, there's always room to turn a situation into a positive one.
Yeah.
So whether you're performing or whatever you're doing. And it is a mindset that takes practice. And
Yeah.
it's some people just have it, you know. I don't think I do. I do have to work on it a lot.
Yeah.
Um on
I'm the
my
same way.
mindset.
You're not alone. I'm the same way.
Yeah, a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people think, "Oh, I don't have it." It's not, but it is a practice. Sometimes you do. When I first moved to LA, it's like I had to fake it until I made it.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
does get easier, and then you give yourself more goals and more to work on, and you get deeper with it as you go along, and you also use the wisdom that you've gained to reflect. Reflection is a big part of my practice after a performance.
Mhm.
I video myself a lot, and I look and I see, like, okay, I remember how I was feeling there. How is it
Yeah.
translating on that video, and what am I seeing? How can I improve myself?
Mm. I
Not that
love
I'm not trying
that.
for any kind of perfection. It's not
Yeah.
about that, but it is about
Yeah.
truth.
Yeah.
Getting closer to the truth, and how I want to present that truth to the world is
Mhm.
important to me
I
through
really love
music.
that. I really love that philosophy, and it actually that also perfectly segues into another thing that I wanted to talk to you about, which I think we share this philosophy, in classical music world. I have always been really disillusioned by that perfectionism, critical nature of everything, but at the same time, the dichotomy of like that doesn't mean I don't want to pursue excellence. I don't want perfection because that's, 1, boring and impossible. But it's the same journey of, uh, self-awareness, being objective, but not mean to yourself. Like watching the recording of yourself and being like, "You know what? I don't like how I voiced the guitar there because I want my voice to come through." I'm just imagining if I were a singer or guitarist. For
Yeah,
me, it's
you
like
gotta be your friend. You gotta pretend
yes.
you're your
Yeah, be
friend.
on your own team, don't be another critic
Yeah.
because the critics are gonna come anyways. Um, but yeah, at least in the classical music world, that's at least my philosophy is share despite imperfection, share despite, not being fully confident with my skill. And it's still worthy art, and because of it, you can pursue or I can pursue the next level of music because I'm sharing and doing that cycle. It sounds like this is a similar cycle for you. Would you agree, disagree?
Yeah, I mean, it's that self-reflection, which to me is more of a spiritual practice for myself. Um, and, part of my journey as a musician, and that's what I do with my Substack. It's like I share this. I share
Yeah.
the internal experience of it, um,
Yes.
because there is an illusion that, especially if you're looking at what people are doing and you're feeling envy, you're seeing an illusion a lot of times. It's not really and I do the same thing. I put out what I feel is like the perfect thing as
Yeah.
far as I can get it, but it's like it's not the perfect thing. It's like I have feelings about it. There's stuff that's going on behind that.
Yeah.
What you see online and all that stuff. And so part of my experience has been like with Substack is just sharing what that is.
Mhm.
And that's kind of opened up my life as a creative. What was
Yeah.
your
So
question though?
no, no, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. So this is Cynthia Brando's Substack. It's the Indie Musician's Way, and I'll have this linked down below. Um, this has been really lovely chatting with you. Like we could obviously talk for hours, even though we're in completely different genres. Um, what do you say we pull one question from the box
Oh, the
as
box, right.
our end of session?
Okay.
And anyone rewatching this later, just look in the descriptions below. You'll see Cynthia's Substack website. You'll see my website, and a little bit more information about Cynthia. Um, Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We're gonna cap off with a question that I'm pulling, and I promise this is random. And this is like 100 questions in here, so it could be anything. Now, whatever, if it says classical music, just your genre.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be classical. Oh, this is great. Okay, I love that I read it before and like judge it, and you don't know what it is. Okay, and if you want to answer second, that's okay. All right, what is one performance, live or recorded, that you consider a personal milestone?
Ah,
And if you
one
want to go
per
second, you can.
Oh, okay, do you know your answer?
I do. I do.
Okay.
You want me to go first?
For me, a personal milestone, I mean, I just think of recently this performance I did I went to a town that's a couple hours from LA, and, I performed in a listening room environment, and it wasn't too long ago that I had that experience at the house concert, that I
Yeah.
felt all this
We don't
this
have to
negative.
relive it. We don't have to
And
relive
yeah,
it. Yeah.
and, I went to Joshua Tree, California. I don't know if anyone in the audience has ever been there, but that's a place that deeply resonates with me,
Mhm.
and, it was a performance where it had been a long time where I felt so natural and real and relaxed and able to connect, but still feeling some nervousness, and I just loved being in that environment where I got out into the world and I have this new experience, and I just thought, like, I wanna do this more. It would kind of re-inspired me to get out there into other communities, because LA can, even though it's LA, it can feel like a very small environment after a
Sure.
while.
Sure.
And, you get stuck in what you're doing, and there's a kind of security blanket in, what you've created, but that security blanket becomes suffocating sometimes, and you
Mm.
forget there's a whole new world out there that you can share your music.
Mhm.
And so that was kind of a milestone moment, and, um, I actually ended up meeting some new people, which is hard for me as an introvert,
Mhm.
and, I was interacting with people and having conversations that I haven't had in a really long time, and just the whole experience, like, really inspired me. So, I would say that recent experience was something that was a milestone for me to kind of explore
Mm.
more in the future, to have more of those experiences out in the world and pursue
Yeah.
that.
It sounds like your new level of stretching out of the comfort zone, and really achieving the goal that you set out to do, just in a new era. It's awesome. And frankly, you probably inspired listeners. Um, I think recently you had posted something about how you had gotten on stage. There was a bunch of young artists, young musicians, and you felt a little bit like an other in that space. And I was like, "You sound
Yeah.
amazing. You sound amazing. You have great stage presence. You have confidence." Like if I were listening in the audience, and I think I wrote to you in maybe a message or something, but I was like, I would be tuning in. I would be tuning in because especially as a musician, it is really hard to achieve that level of comfort and confidence and presence on stage, and I don't know, like, it's inspiring to me.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, you're welcome.
Yeah, we could talk about the age thing all day long, but it's another topic.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll answer mine. So mine is similar. I was asked to do contribute to this Alzheimer's fundraiser. And it was the first time I had been, like, on a stage, an actual lit stage, and I didn't understand sound checks or stuff like that, so I just didn't do one. Um, and I was fully prepared, I was doing stuff that I was very used to, so I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be a walk in the park," and I've chosen stuff I'm comfortable with. And I get on, and I opened with the thing I'm most comfortable with, which is this beautiful little Schumann one-minute piece. And I literally could not recognize what I was playing at all, um, and right after I recovered, and I played something I was really proud of, and so that for me is my milestone, is being like, "You know what? Despite wanting to run off the stage, and I mean, really, uh, regretting my choices, teaching myself that I could do it was a milestone because that helped inform, you know what? If I could survive that and nobody knew, then I can survive another one and way less
Yeah,
stakes, you know?
that's a beautiful moment to build upon
Yeah.
when you
Yeah.
really
So
feel it that in that positive light.
yeah, I think upon reflection, if we're nice to ourselves, especially as musicians with wanting to pursue our craft in the most elevated way we can, don't get mean to yourself, because I could have ended my career, not career, but ended my passion for sharing music. Um, but instead, the perspective shift really helped.
Yeah,
So,
that's great. I love
yeah.
hearing stories like that
Yeah, yeah.
because 'cause I've been
Well,
there.
Cynthia, this has been so much fun. Thank you for joining me today. Again, everybody listening on the rewatch, Cynthia Brando, singer songwriter, LA based, website and Substack are going to be down below. So check it out. And thanks for joining.
Thanks for doing this. You're
You're
doing a
welcome.
wonderful thing.
You're
So,
welcome.
I'm
This was
sure
fun.
everyone really appreciates it.
Well, join us again in a few months. Maybe we can catch up again with everybody.
Alright,
Okay. All
looking
right.
forward.
Bye
Alright, take
bye. Bye
care.
bye,
Bye,
everybody.
everyone. Thanks for listening.